Sugar City Morning Show.
Good morning and welcome to today's edition of the Sugar City Morning Show. It is exactly 2 minutes after 7 o'clock, and it's always a pleasure to welcome you and above all to greet you and hope that everything is going okay with you, A-OK with you. Buenos días todos y bienvenidos a esta edición del Sugar City Morning Show. Es un gran gusto saludarles y darles la bienvenida a este show, su show. Aquí confiando de que todo esté yendo completamente a su agrado. Y como siempre digo, aunque no esté yendo completamente al agrado, porque muchas veces pues no puede salir como nosotros lo queremos todo el tiempo. A veces suceden cosas que van justo contrario a lo que quisiéramos que sucediera. Y entonces nos ponemos a renegar que sucedió tal cosa. Yo siempre digo, pues no debió suceder. Simple. No debió suceder a ese momento. Así que paciencia es una prueba de paciencia, ¿ok? Y también de persistencia para poder hacerlo de nuevo, intentarlo de nuevo otro día, cuando las condiciones sean mucho más propicias. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo se encuentran? Estamos transmitiendo en vivo desde Nortevisión, Canal 10, aquí en la calle San Lorenzo, y siempre, como siempre, estamos transmitiendo a través de 3 formas. Estamos transmitiendo a través de cable, en Canal 60, aquí en el norte del país, y también estamos transmitiendo en vivo por la torre, es más, por aire, transmisión por aire. Un atento saludo a todas las personas que nos ven a través de este medio. Reconozco de que tenemos un problemita con la imagen, con la transmisión. Eso es debido, y lo repito, que al momento pues no está al 100% una parte ahí de la transmisión, que cuando llueve se acumula la humedad y ya luego causa problemitas. Pero se estará reparando dentro muy pronto. También estamos transmitiendo en vivo en el internet, y les quiero decir de que simplemente tienes que teclear tu programa, entrar en tu programa YouTube y teclear Sugar City Morning Show, y así rapidito ya puedes verlo donde sea que te encuentres, a la hora que quieras verlo. Puede ser que estés en Sudamérica, en África, en Timbuktu, no importa. Puedes verlo y lo puedes ver a la hora que te dé la gana. Y no solo el de hoy, pero el de ayer o el de antier o como sea el caso. Compañeros, es un gran gusto saludarles hoy martes, and I'm trusting that everything went fine with you over the weekend. Over the weekend, we celebrated the Battle of St. George's Key. We commemorated the Battle of St. George's Key with different functions throughout the country. Here in Orange Walk, there was a jump up in the Central Park area, and in Belize City, there was a march, and there was also a parade, and there was also a municipal fair, or something to the effect. We noticed that in Belize City, the celebration is more within the hearts of the people, because a lot of people have grown up. It's very important to them. We have to celebrate the 10th. We have to celebrate the 10th. These days, it's important that we all have a consciousness of the significance of the Battle of St. George's Key. All of us. But nonetheless, it's a trying challenge. It's a challenge, and hopefully, within a couple of years, all Belizeans will be able to say, I am proud of celebrating the 10th of September because of the significance it has in our history. Como siempre, vamos a dar inicio, o vamos a continuar con nuestro programa con una oración. Porque al final del día estamos vivos. Al final del día, Dios nos ha dado, y digo Dios, porque esa es mi creencia, nos ha dado la vida, nos ha dado salud y nos ha dado fuerzas. Y son cosas que a cada día, si es que los tienes, hay que agradecer a este creador. Porque como siempre digo, usamos la retórica de Dios sabe lo que hace por cuando una persona falleció. Pues yo me atrevo a pensar y me atrevo a decirte de que Dios sabe qué es lo que hace todo el tiempo. Y que nos tiene vivos simplemente porque Él nos quiere tener vivos. Así que le debo un agradecimiento a este Dios, a este poder superior con quien tengo una relación personal. Y decirle, Padre, gracias. Padre, te doy las gracias por tus bendiciones. Nos das la vida, nos das la salud, nos das las fuerzas, todo dentro de tu plan de salvación que tienes para nosotros, dentro de ese gran amor que tienes para nosotros, dentro de toda la sabiduría que tienes, Padre, tú haces suceder las cosas según tu plan maestro. Te doy las gracias. Gracias por la paciencia, gracias por nuestros familiares, gracias por nuestras amistades, gracias por tu perdón que nos das. Gracias por las experiencias que nos ofreces. Y gracias por darnos una conciencia. Te pido que nos continúes bendiciendo, amando, protegiendo y que como siempre, Padre, pidiendo para aquellas personas que más lo necesitan, los enfermos, los que están en las cárceles, las personas que están en sus casas sufriendo, enfermos también, o los que andan en las calles sin saber dónde finalmente van. Este fin de semana, Padre, celebramos, lunes, celebramos el día de la prevención de suicidio. Vemos muchas personas cayendo víctimas al suicidio. Padre, que podamos nosotros hacer un cambio en cómo atacar el problema, porque al final de las veces es nuestra indiferencia que muchas veces causa que personas puedan tomar la acción de suicidarse y nosotros campantes sin dándonos cuenta. Padre, te doy las gracias por todo, te bendecimos, te glorificamos y exaltamos tu nombre. Amén. Good morning. If you've just joined us, it is 10 minutes after 7 o'clock. This is the general weather forecast for today. And today is Tuesday, September 11th. If you're having a birthday today, have a blast. Happy birthday. Muchas felicidades a las personas que están cumpliendo años hoy o que están celebrando aniversarios. Warm and unstable conditions expected today. The 24-hour forecast says it's going to be sunny this morning, becoming increasingly cloudy this afternoon, with some showers and thunderstorms inland and over the south. Cloudy tonight with some showers, thunderstorms, and periods of rain over most areas. So I'm going to repeat that. It says it's going to be sunny this morning, becoming increasingly cloudy this afternoon, with some showers and thunderstorms in the inland area and over the south. Then it's going to be cloudy tonight with some showers, thunderstorms, and periods of rain over most areas. Winds blowing from the south, southeast, 5 to 15 knots. The sea state, choppy to moderate. The temperatures along the coast, a high of 89, a low of 78. Inland, a high of 96 degrees Fahrenheit. Whoa. And a low of 72 degrees. Now that 96 degrees is going to feel way above 96. It's going to feel like if it's 106 because of the humidity that is in the air. I've always told you that the heat that we go through during the months of July, August, September is way different to the heat that we go through in April, May. March, April, May. The one in March, April, May is very dry. And we can go up to 100 degrees and not feel as uncomfortable as we do in the months of July, August, September, because of the relative humidity that is so high that it makes us feel uncomfortable, makes us feel sticky, makes us feel very, very uncomfortable. That is the basic difference. So that 96 degrees is going to feel way in excess of 105, 106 degrees. In the hills, it's going to be a cool 84 degrees and a low of 68 degrees. Advisories. There's a small caution that goes into effect tonight. Tonight, for gusty winds and locally rough seas, near showers or thunderstorms. Residents living in flood-prone areas are advised to be on the alert for the possibility of localized flooding later today and tonight. So please be on the lookout. This is very important. Remember that there is it's not a hurricane, it's not a storm, it's not even a depression yet, but it's a system that is almost in front of us, slightly to in the northwestern Caribbean, that is heading north, okay? And as it develops into something, as it goes into, when it goes into the Gulf of Mexico, then that explains why the winds are coming from the south, southeast, okay? At this moment, the winds are from the south, southeast. And as it moves ahead of us, or to the north of us, then it's going to be coming more from the west and south. West and north initially. Yes, west and north, northwest. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is also causing us to have rain. Although it's not coming to us directly. It is just the immensity of the storm that is influencing our climate, our weather here in Belize. But nothing to worry about at the moment because it's heading north. The outlook for tomorrow, it says a gradual decrease in showers and thunderstorms is expected during Wednesday, with showers and thunderstorms becoming isolated by Wednesday night. A high tide this morning at 9 minutes after 11, a low tide at 5:18, a second high tide at 11:21 tonight, and the second low tide at 20 minutes before 6 tomorrow morning. The sun sets today at 5:57, that means 3 minutes before 6, and the sun rises tomorrow morning at 20 minutes before 6. Thank you, forecaster Ronald Gordon, for that information. Muchas gracias, Ronald Gordon. Compañeros, aquí el reporte del estado del tiempo para hoy, 11 de septiembre, y de nuevo, si es que estás cumpliendo años, que la pases muy bien. Situación general, condiciones calurosos e inestables se esperan durante el curso del día hoy. Así que para las siguientes 24 horas, hoy estará soleado por la mañana y luego tan de repente se va a cambiar porque va a estar bastante nublado hoy por la tarde con chubascos y tronadas en el interior del país y también sobre el sur del país. Luego por la noche estará nublado con algunos chubascos, tronadas y periodos de lluvia sobre la gran parte del país de Belice. Así que hoy por la noche casi se garantiza que tendremos chubascos. Hoy por la noche, en el sur es muy probable que tengan ellos tronadas también. Los vientos del sur-sudeste de 5 a 15 nudos, el estado del mar agitado a moderado, temperaturas por la costa, 89 grados como una máxima, 78 como una mínima. En el interior del país, y aquí es lo importante, 96 grados como una máxima y 72 como una mínima. Dense cuenta de la fluctuación de 24 grados. ¿Ok? Pero también lo importante es de que este 96 grados como máxima se va a sentir como 106 grados, porque tenemos una humedad relativa bastante alta, ¿ok? Y eso hace sentir que el calor se sienta como 10, 15 grados más alto de lo que en realidad es. Hay una nota de cautela, por favor, para aquellas personas que se agitan rápidamente, los ancianos, los niños, por favor, cuidarse. Si no tienes que salir a la calle, no lo hagas. Por las colinas, 84 grados como una máxima y una mínima de 68. Hay una nota de cautela. No, va a entrar hoy por la noche una nota de cautela para aquellas pequeñas embarcaciones, porque hoy por la noche por las aguas pudiera causar problema los vientos altos y las olas altas. Así que esto obviamente durante tormentas si estás en el mar. También hay que estar muy, muy, muy al tanto de las personas que viven en áreas que son vulnerables, áreas bajas, que digamos cada año se inunda tu área, pues por favor se te pide que estés muy al tanto, porque con las lluvias que caen y caen tan fuerte, pudiera causar inundación en esas áreas bajas y tan de repente te pudieras ver víctima de una ola de agua que entra por tu patio y te arrasa con todo. ¿Ok? Mucho cuidado, por favor, mucho cuidado. Se espera que mañana, ya miércoles, tengamos tengamos chubascos y tormentas, pero no tanto como el día de hoy. Va a haber va a haber condiciones mejores mañana miércoles y se espera que que las condiciones mejoren tanto para el día de mañana y también para el jueves. Una marea alta a las 11:09 hoy por la mañana, una baja a las 5:18 por la tarde, una segunda marea alta, 11:21 y una segunda marea baja a las 5:40 mañana. El sol se oculta hoy a las 6:03 y el sol sale mañana a las 5:40. Muchas gracias, señor Gordon, por esta información. Compañeros, como dije anteriormente en el programa, ayer se celebró mundialmente el Día de Prevención de Suicidio. Estamos viendo que aquí en Belice y mundialmente hay más gente suicidándose. Por eso nuestro invitado de honor hoy es una persona que es joven, pero está en sus estudios para ser psicóloga, pero también está bastante envuelta en los esfuerzos de tratar de ayudar a esas personas que están propensas a cometer suicidio. Y hoy la tendremos con nosotros y tendremos una discusión excelente con ella, viendo qué son las síntomas, porque podemos ayudar, compañeros, podemos ayudar si nada más llegaríamos a poner atención. Es muy importante. Pero antes que vayamos a eso, tenemos que agradecer a nuestros patrocinadores: Digi, A&R, German Vega & Sons Import Limited, Vega Imports, Belize Tourist Board, Government of Belize Information Service, Vega Distributors, Gillette's Meat Shop, and Belize Marketing and Development Corporation. Las 7:22, vamos rápidamente a esta pausa y estaremos de vuelta con ustedes tan pronto estos anuncios.
Freshly extracted local honey, perfect for today's dessert. And these locally produced onions, they are just the right size for my popular onion rings and hamburgers. And these cuts of sheep lamb, also grown locally, are just perfect for my succulent barbecue. When I think about my family's health, I buy local products first. After all, they are fresh and healthier. And if you do the same, you're shaping a brighter future for your community, your family, and yourself, as local spending circles back to you. Remember, when you buy local products, you are building a better Belize.
This message is proudly sponsored by the Food and Agriculture Organization, European Union, Ministry of Agriculture, and Belize Marketing and Development Corporation.
Why go anywhere else on vacation when an unforgettable experience awaits you right here in your own backyard? Explore Southern Belize, home to the Cacao Trail, the historically rich Maya, and our illustrious Southern heritage. Satisfy your sweet tooth with a cacao tour, relax by the river, or enjoy a basket weaving demonstration. Stop in for some delicious Southern food. Come and enjoy some good old-fashioned Southern hospitality. Belize, where you can discover how to be a Belizean traveler.
Everybody wants a clean and healthy family. That's why they purchase the best food products and the cleansing materials. This time, we give you a bigger size of La Costeña products like the mouth-watering fried beans and the pasta sauce. And surely for your clean laundry, we have the breathtaking aroma of Ensueño Max Suavitel. Even your visitors will ask what you clean your floors and restrooms with. And you can boast it is the variety of Pinol products and Sultan muriatic acid now in 900 milliliters. And much more for the best prices only at German Vega and Sons Imports. We serve you at number 5 San Antonio Road, Orange Walk Town. You can even call us at 322-3625 or 322-2672. Or you can even send us a fax at 322-2571 or email us at germanvega@btl.net. German Vega and Sons Limited, because we care for you.
Attention all parents and students. A&R Stores countrywide announced the arrival of their back-to-school inventory. If you need school bags and knapsacks, say no more. A&R Stores have the largest assortment of knapsacks in the country with brands like Jansport, Capsule, and Everest, famous for their resistance and durability. If you need school supplies, A&R Stores have everything, yes, everything you'll need, such as exercise books, composition books, lunch bags, folders, and a whole range of school supplies and arts and craft material. A&R Stores, your #1 store for back-to-school supplies. Visit them at any of their 8 locations. A&R Store, where our prices make the difference.
Welcome back to the Sugar City Morning Show. Bienvenidos de vuelta al Sugar City Morning Show. Es exactamente las 7:26. Hola, ¿cómo se encuentran? Ojalá y bien. Hoy tenemos una persona que no es ninguna extraña a este escenario. una persona que ha estado aquí en eventos anteriores, en ocasiones anteriores, perdón, y una persona a quien me gusta traer aquí porque es joven, inteligente y fácil con quien hablar. Es un gran gusto, compañeros, un gran gusto de presentar y darle la bienvenida a mi buena amiga Paula Osorio.
Muchas gracias, Mr. Martínez, por tenerme hoy.
Paula está estudiando psicología.
Sí.
Y también estás envuelta en una organización que se llama Hopeful Hearts. Y también estás envuelta en esfuerzos de tratar de ayudar a las personas que, por una razón u otra, están pasando por tiempos difíciles emocionalmente, por decirlo así, muy bonito. ¿Okay? Recién has tenido la oportunidad de viajar y de conocer más y ampliar tu conocimiento, visitando otros países, conociendo otras personas, porque siempre es importante poder abarcar más y más y llegar a buscar formas de cómo atender el problema de suicidio. ¿Tenemos un problema aquí bastante fuerte en Belice?
Sí. Se ha visto en los últimos años que hay números muy
¿Preocupantes?
muy preocupantes, sí. Disculpe, estoy pensando en inglés.
Puedes hablar en inglés si quieres.
Okay, let's do the show in English because I think I came prepared in English. There are very alarming numbers when it comes to the number of suicides and suicide attempts in our country. It's something that the age range seems to be dropping when it comes to suicides, and the amount of suicides are increasing. So, for example, when it comes to the age range that's most affected in Belize, it's the 15 to the 19-year-old age range.
15 to 19-year-olds.
Of course, we can extend it to about 15 to 29 years old. However, the bulk is in that 15 to 19 years old range. And it's a very young age. It's a very tender age. It's a very delicate age where a lot of development is happening. And to see someone die by suicide, it's a tragic loss for a country, because that young person could have been the next prime minister, could have been
Surgeon General.
a surgeon general. That person could have been a great lawyer. It's a really tragic thing to see someone so young die by suicide, and these numbers are increasing.
Alarmingly increasing.
Yes, they are, because even if it's just one person, who shows one more person who dies by suicide, it still is alarming, because it's someone's life, that's someone's future, that's something that could have contributed to our country.
So given that scenario, Paula, where you have an increasing amount of people committing suicide, and questions arise.
Yeah.
How do you solve it? What can you do to create a greater awareness of the problem? Yesterday, we celebrated Suicide Prevention Day worldwide. But were there any activities? It is easily overshadowed by the 10th day of September celebrations. Is that one of the problems? Why?
When it comes to World Suicide Day here in Belize, yes, it is overshadowed by by the 10th. I wouldn't necessarily say that's a major issue, because it is one of our patriotic celebrations, and it is important that we celebrate also the history of our country. However, it is something that needs more awareness. It is something that needs to be talked a lot more. Worldwide, there are activities all over the world to commemorate this day. one of the things that's commonly seen is coming to talk shows also and talking about it.
How do you feel as a young person? How do you feel when you hear that other young people have killed themselves, have committed suicide?
Personally, it is a big, it leaves its mark on me because some of my closest friends and some of the people that I have come to know and love, it always brings me back to their memories of expressing the suicidal desire. And luckily, thankfully, I can't say that I have lost any friends to suicide, but it is something that I have heard a lot, especially in the age that I am. I guess you could say I am rather young. But it is something very tragic because as I mentioned, I have not lost anyone by suicide, but I could just imagine what it would have been like had I lost one of those friends to suicide. Now I see all of the individuals that had expressed that suicidal desire doing very great things and improving their lives in many ways. So it's something that it is a personal cause to me. Additionally, as I mentioned, it's just a loss for our country.
What prompts somebody to say, I want to commit suicide? I can't take it anymore.
When it comes to that, it's a bit difficult to pinpoint an exact reason. Suicide is something that has many factors that play into it. For example, some factors that might, in this age range especially, the 15 to the 19-year-old, maybe moving, going to a new school, loss of friends, sexuality, and even in older adults, even in adults, it is something that maybe the loss of a job, a divorce, for example, relationships with family members, high debts, the loss of the loss of a loved one, for example. All of these things can play into suicide and why someone would want to attempt suicide. However, as I mentioned, we can't pinpoint an exact reason, especially in those who already have died by suicide, because, well, we can't really ask them, no? But it is important that when it comes to preventing suicide, sometimes we instead of wanting to understand the reason why, I think it's better to care and reach out instead of trying to understand why. Because in trying to understand why, we might place some judgment on the person. And it's one of the things when it comes to saving someone's life is not placing judgment. It's being there, really listening, really being able to assist that person in understanding what they're going through. And what I mean by understanding is understanding that as a human being, they're feeling at their lowest and they feel that this is one of the things that they want to do so that they can end their pain or they can end their struggles. So when it comes to why, the big why, we may never be able to really answer that. There's so many factors that play into it, and for each individual it's different.
Does genetics or something similar to that give you some sort of propensity, or does it can be because your grandfather on your father's side went through a nervous breakdown? Does that give you some sort of, does that put you in a vulnerable position where you can also become somebody who is depressed and going through mental nervous breakdowns and at the same time a little bit more prone to committing suicide? Is that a possibility?
That's actually a myth. Suicide isn't hereditary and it's not genetic. However, having suicide history in the family can put you at a greater risk because you're more aware of it per se. And it's something that, how can I explain it? It's something that once individuals who maybe are going through depression or are having thoughts of suicide, it becomes somewhat of a norm, I would say. It's something that they would probably see as normal or something that they would have accepted in their family, something that they've seen before, so it's something that they can repeat. However, it is important to note that it doesn't always happen that way. And another common myth is that suicide isn't always caused by depression. Suicide, as I mentioned, has many factors. Suicide being one of them, but we cannot say it's only one.
So you can commit suicide. A lot of people commit suicide not being depressed.
Not necessarily being depressed, yes.
So in other words, it's just that moment, that particular moment that where they decide, tell you what, I can't take this no more. But that doesn't necessarily indicate that that person has been depressed for the past 2 years or so. It can be that at this spur of the moment he decides, tell you what, I just want done this. Bigger than both.
Yeah. Yes, as I mentioned, not always is depression the reason why. In individuals who are depressed, let me explain it in this way. You can be depressed without being suicidal. And you can be suicidal without being depressed. And you can be suicidal and being depressed, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they go
How
hand in
can
hand.
you be suicidal without being depressed? In other words, or at least hurt. It defies logic.
Yes, I understand. A lot of times when it comes to that, depression is a mental disorder. It is a mental illness. And while sometimes suicidal thoughts come into play with depression, it doesn't necessarily mean that the person has an intent to do so, or that the person has the capability to do so. Especially when it comes to a mental disorder where the person is in treatment, then that's where suicide can be prevented. However, in the case of, let's say it in this way, a middle-aged man recently lost his job, recently lost his house, is going through a divorce, his children no longer speak to him, and all of this is happening in a very short span of time.
It could bear a toll on you.
It could. Without necessarily it being that he had the mental illness of depression. Maybe he was experiencing symptoms of depression, but not necessarily having it as an illness or as a disorder, which would be a conversation for another day, talking about disorder and about depression in itself. So when it comes to that, it bears its toll because there are various factors coming into play.
Okay, now that we have established that, but how can we help pinpoint those persons that are depressed and are considering suicide?
When it comes to that, there are various warning signs. My laptop won't go down. There are various warning signs when it comes to what suicide.
What to look for?
Yeah.
If you know somebody who is depressed and you care for that person, and this is important, and you care for that person, so much so that you'd like to help that person, you need to be looking out for certain things in that person. What are some of these?
Some of the signs warning signs are, for example, sudden changes in mood. For example, if you're a very happy person and you're suddenly depressed, or you suddenly seem irritable, you suddenly seem down, you suddenly have crying spells, a very sudden change in mood might indicate something. Or the opposite might also occur, where the person has been showing signs of sadness, showing signs of irritability, and suddenly their mood changes to being happy, to being joyful, to being cheerful. Why the sudden change? Right? It's something that you have to look at. So that it's not necessarily that their situation is getting better, their living situation, but maybe because they've already contemplated.
Can the laughing part be to try to hide their inner emotions, where they maybe sometimes could be going through hell, but in front of people they wear a smile and ¿Cómo estás? Estoy bien, estoy bien. But you don't know what is going on inside.
Yes, exactly. Another warning sign is giving away valuable items. Something seen, not necessarily, it could be in items that are costly, material things that are costly. Well,
like, toma mi televisor, man.
Giving away things that are costly, or things that have personal value. Another warning sign is asking for forgiveness, something that a lot of people would tend to do right before, because and the reason I'll explain why this, because one of the myths about suicide is that people my bad, I lost my train of thought. When it comes,
we're talking about
oh yes, I remembered, sorry, my bad. One of the myths about suicide is that suicide is a selfish act, when in reality it's quite the opposite. Because a warning sign also is feeling hopeless and feeling that you're a burden to others. So when asking for asking for forgiveness, you're sort of preparing your loved one for what you're about to do. So when it comes to that, it's why is this person asking for forgiveness all of a sudden? And it could be, and there are some cases that I have heard that it's not necessarily that the person has done wrong to their loved ones, but it's just forgive me for anything that I have done. Kind of making ease with your loved ones before having this, no? Another one.
And that would be easily one of those things that you'd question, because like, why didn't you ask me for forgiveness? I wonder if this body thing would do something crazy. You know what I mean?
The thought does go there, yes. Another thing is substance abuse, an increased amount of drinking, or knowing that the person is starting to take drugs when in reality this person doesn't really have a history of this. Isolation, someone who's usually very social suddenly withdraws from society
and becomes a hermit.
And it is a warning sign. It is something to worry about. Why is this individual doing so? Aggressiveness and irritability, as I mentioned.
So family members who have somebody who they are kind of worried about need to listen to these things and be very, very watchful.
Yes.
Because if you not, and if you play that role like, eso es vida de él, a mí, que él haga lo que él quiera. Are you really helping that person? Or are you helping him in his plan to commit suicide? If you say, well, you could do what you want, you're a dumb big man already. Because that person feels that, hey, nadie me quiere, todos me odian, y finalmente mejor terminar esta cosa una vez por todas.
I will get to that question shortly. Let me just go through the rest of the warning signs. As I mentioned, the sudden mood change, asking about forgiveness, talking about that is another indicator. Most of us tend to talk about that at some point or the other. All of us experience that either from when we're small, when our grandmother or someone passes away, or when we're older and someone passes away. We tend to talk about it. It's something that we see in our culture. However, when this person talks about it in a very emphasized way, that they're always mentioning death and morbidity.
Repeating it and repeating
it is something, why is this person thinking so much about it? Isolation, hopelessness, feeling like a burden to others. Another one is possessing lethal means. And what I mean by possessing lethal means is the three most common methods of suicide in Belize are poisoning, taking in a lethal substance, hanging, and the use of a firearm. So, of course, there are other means. For example, and when it comes to that, you want to see what these persons are acquiring. If you see that this person suddenly has an interest in rope, it could be that they're already planning their method. So when it comes to that, it's the reason why you have to look out for that is by potentially taking that rope away and hiding it, or if you know that this person has access to medication, to prescription medication that they plan on overdosing on, take that away. That's where the family comes in, and that's where the immediate loved ones or the immediate individuals around them come into play, because they can take that away and potentially prevent that in that sense. Another one is engaging in risky behaviors, and engaging in risky behaviors could be things like driving and speeding up, not caring about traffic, reckless driving, that's the term exactly. As I mentioned, substance abuse, engaging in unsafe sexual behavior, and of course there are others that
do sicknesses figure in, like, all of a sudden you're diagnosed with a disease, with AIDS, with liver cancer, with brain cancer, and you go like, I'm not going to let my family go through all of this expense of trying to cure me. I know they love me a lot, but I'm just going to take a step and try to look at how difficult it is for me at this moment to try to justify it, and so it just begins to tell you that it's a hard choice that these people make, but a choice nonetheless that they made. Okay, but does that happen that you're sick?
Chronic illness does definitely have an important part to play into suicide, because as you mentioned, it's saving the expenses, and I don't mean only financially, but saving those expenses that come along with a chronic illness from our loved ones, and also not wanting to live out that illness, because really truly when we're going into the shoes of someone who has suicidal thoughts, they just want to end their pain. They don't want to be a burden on others. Why live out the pain when you can end it? Mm-hmm. So chronic illness is something that really requires a lot of emotional and family support, and it's something that, of course, there are a lot of families who would go the extra mile and would do all they can to save their family members. So when it comes to chronic illness, it's seen there, the family support, in the same way that it should be seen with other warning signs of suicide. Another warning sign that may seem a bit obvious and a bit not obvious is previous suicide attempts, which a lot of times aren't taken as suicide attempts. Why? In the case of, let's say, a 17-year-old girl who slits her wrist, which is not to be confused with self-harm. She slits her wrist in her attempt to suicide. It may not be said, it may not be talked about openly as it being a suicide attempt. It might be talked about, oh, she's a teenager, she's this, she's that, she's the other, without necessarily saying that it is a suicide attempt. So some people could tend to overlook that part and then think, oh, she already went through that, we have her in counseling, or we have her in mental health services. But that's one of the most crucial times to monitor somebody, when they have already attempted suicide.
So if she tried it once, she can try it again.
Exactly. And
we need to take a break, because it's exactly 49 minutes after 7. It's 11 minutes before 8. You see how time goes when you're so much in depth in this discussion? Hope that you're listening and hope that you're jotting down. There's a big problem in the country right now. But we'll take a break, and we'll be right back with you after these messages.
Kenny Richards, and I'm representing Cellular Plus, where we provide sales for cell phones and cell phone servicing, and also TV repairs. We use the net a lot to download softwares and different programs for the servicing of our devices. We need something more reliable and stable. Previous internet that we've been using had a lot of droppage. Sometimes it was non-existent for a couple hours. We are a service-minded company, and we need to get our products out and servicing out as quick as possible. Now with the Diginet service, surfing the web looking for stuff for customers has improved our time and everything. Software downloads or software uploads, communicating with our customers and transferring large files, and improve our service on a wide spectrum of servicing that we provide. Anyone that's internet-based and service-driven, I would recommend Diginet to everyone in Belize.
Now available in Corozal, coming soon to San Ignacio.
Motor 5.0, 4 válvulas por cilindro. Todos quisiéramos una. Como que no agarra, ¿no? Siento como que se le pega el balancín. Vamos a darte el aceite que te mereces. Vas a correr como rayo, preciosa.
Los que oímos más allá de las revoluciones, hablamos máquina. Roche France, poniendo el mundo a funcionar.
Agente autorizado, German Vega y Sons. Teléfono 322-3625. Roche France.
The San Ignacio-Santa Elena Bypass Project is now complete. The transformation began in 2012, and now residents of the Twin Towns and visitors alike are enjoying the end result. Works include the full pavement of Lamalus Boulevard, along with 2 miles of sidewalks and drainage, LED lighting, and a roundabout at the entrance of Santa Elena. The Twin Towns now boast the longest and widest bridge in Belize, immune to flooding from the occasional rise in water levels of the McCall River. A bypass road was also built linking the new bridge to Joseph Andrews Drive, which was rehabilitated, as well as 1 mile of pavement, a median, and 2 miles of sidewalks and drainage. This was all done to the tune of $34.8 million. But that's not all. The project was extended due to savings from the successful execution and implementation of the initial scope of works. Now over 2 miles of additional roadworks will commence, including George Price Avenue, Liberty Avenue, and the George Price Highway between Three Flags and Hawksworth Bridge. The government of Belize, moving Belize forward.
Everyone needs a getaway. Why not make it in your own backyard? Learn the history of your old capital. Or venture out on a road trip to experience the village life and be captivated by nature's wildlife, culture, and food. Belize, where you can discover how to be a Belizean traveler.
Before we signed up for DigiNet, things at home were a bit...
Mom, I'm just having up the internet. Who said fix it?
chaotic when it came to the internet. But since we signed up for DigiNet, fiber optic internet for your home, everything has been going awesome. Everyone can be online at the same time, consistent and reliable speeds, no more fighting for internet. It's a mother's dream. It's so affordable. I got a 20 megabyte plan for only $169 monthly. Plus, it comes bundled with a free postpaid plan and free home phone service. We're saving over $200 monthly. It's an unbelievable deal. Perfect for families. Trust me, visit your nearest BTL office and ask about DigiNet today.
Now available in Corozal. Coming soon to San Ignacio.
Bienvenidos de vuelta. Welcome back to the Sugar City Morning Show. With us is Miss Paola Osorio, who is studying to be a psychologist, but is also very involved with people who are going through emotional problems. And the name of the organization is Hopeful Hearts. So, Hopeful Hearts has been around for some years now.
About a year.
About a year.
Yeah.
Okay. But before we go into that, I just want to quickly, want you to quickly impress on us the rates of suicides that we've been having here in Belize. The amounts that we've been having on a yearly basis. And ladies and gentlemen, you may be easily shocked when you hear these numbers.
Yeah. Let me just give an overview of the entire Americas, this side of the world. There are about 65,000 deaths occurring from suicide each year.
65,000 deaths attributed to suicide. Yes. People who literally say, aquí is where it ends.
In Belize, from the years 2014 to 2016, there were a total of 69 reported suicides. 69. Keep in mind that even though the number may sound small, 69, it's a small number as opposed to the thousands in other countries. In our Belizean context, being that our population is so small, it is very alarming. In 2014, there were 25 suicides. 2015, there were 26. 2016, there were 18. And between the years of 2012 to 2016, there were 15 individuals between the ages of 10 to 14 who died by suicide.
But you could just go back. 25 and 26 for the entire country means that 2 a month?
Thereabout, yes.
2 every month.
That is
killing themselves.
That is a trend that is being seen with suicide behaviors here in Belize, that there are about 2 a month. And keep in mind that our numbers are not accurate. And it's not a problem of Belize, it's a problem when it comes to suicide in general, that our statistics are not necessarily accurate because it may not be reported by suicide as a death by suicide. And what I mean by this, for example, if someone were to die by hanging themselves, it would be reported that the person died by asphyxiation, not by suicide. So even though we know this person died by asphyxiation, and even though we know it's suicide, in, I guess you could say, official report, it may not be put as a suicide, a death of suicide. It will be put as a death of asphyxiation or a death of cerebral damage due to a bullet.
Lack of oxygen, blah, 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 blah.
Exactly. So it's not necessarily reported as a suicide.
So those numbers can be way higher.
Yes. They can be. One of the things that is estimated that for every 1 suicide that occurs, there are 20 attempts. So for 1, there are 20 attempts.
It is, wow, 20 attempts.
Yes.
And those are the ones that you need to watch, because once you try it once, you're going to try it again.
Yeah.
So we need to be watchful of our loved ones, increasingly watchful.
For every 1, there's an estimated 20.
What about the... Let's be real now. And I'd like to invite you to call in 302-2170. If you have a question, if you have a comment, if you know of somebody who is attempting or gives you an impression, you know, without having to mention names, ladies and gentlemen, without having to mention names. Just make an appointment with Paola, with Miss Paola, and she'd be willing to visit those people and talk to those people. Am I right?
Yes, of course. Another statistic that I would like to give out is that while women tend to attempt suicide more, men are the ones who die by suicide. So, for example...
Wait, hold on. The women attempted more, but the man are the one who actually pulled the trigger.
Yes. Saying it like that, yes. If I'm not mistaken, and I might be mistaken here, women attempt suicide twice as more as men, but men die by suicide 4 or 5 times more than women.
I have known over my lifetime a number of people who are close to me who have committed suicide. I will begin with my distant cousin Oscar Ayuso, who has died. He committed suicide. Mark Gallaty, who committed suicide. David Fonseca, who committed suicide. And then it gets personal. My very uncle committed suicide. I've told you about that. And I'm asking you this is, and I'm bringing that up because you told me at the beginning of the show that it's sometimes it doesn't make any sense to ask question why, because at the end of the day you may be prejudicial, you may be judging that person, because at the end of the day you never know what caused that person to actually go to the store, buy the rope, get the nail, plan it all just so that he commits suicide at 2 o'clock in the morning when nobody is awake, so that, and position himself in such a way that as soon as you open your damn door, there he is hanging in front of you. And that's a blow you don't want to live through ever. Ever. Because I can imagine my aunt having to go through this, and she was alone in the house.
Death by suicide is just as impactful, or maybe even more impactful, than deaths that are that are expected. When it comes to chronic illness, for example, you may know your family member is dying, and from personal experience, it is a blow. It is hurtful. It is extremely painful. When someone dies by an accident, it's also unexpected and does hurt. Now, a suicide is something that could have been prevented. So, one of the things that you mentioned, the 2 o'clock, another warning sign, another thing that is extremely important is knowing if this person feels loved, if this person feels that they are surrounded by people that they love, because they may be feeling lonely. One of the things to look out for is that suicide does not occur in a specific type of person. It does not it doesn't happen in a specific population, specific ethnicity or specific whatever. It's about what that person is going through. As I mentioned, there are many factors, and the person could very well just be feeling lonely, feeling unloved, feeling that why be in this world if no one cares for them? Even if they are surrounded by their loved ones, even if they are surrounded by people that do love them, they may not necessarily feel that.
So many times, it is only their perspective. It's a very subjective thing where they feel that nobody else wants them, nobody likes them, and that therefore it would be easier for them. Is it something that perhaps is just born out of their very own depression, where they go like, it makes no sense? Because people will tell you, I love you, but if I tell you stuff is because I love you. It's not because I don't like you. It's not because I hate you, but it's because I love you and I want you to get out of what you're doing.
In those cases,
but then the person just blocks that approach and says, no, you want to do it because you want to hurt me. You don't love me because I have tried to prove it, and you did this to me, and you did this to me, and you did this to me. And that no person who loves that other person will ever do those things. I've heard that. I have heard that. So that person becomes no longer able to reason with you. He or she is just stuck on a stand that says, nobody loves me. Despite the efforts from the family of trying to get him or her to understand that they do. So at the end of the day, that in itself is a problem. How to reach out to these people without making them feel that somebody's trying to do them damage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you talk to them? What do you do? Because any approach of trying to get close is just warded off as, no, this is some plan to try to make me, to hurt me. And I've seen that as well, and especially with substance abuse.
Yep. The thing with substance abuse is that it's really the problem. And I know I might be ruffling a lot of feathers in saying that, but substance abuse tends to be the symptom of. And what I mean by that is that there are many factors, or there are many reasons, or many things that the individual is going through that they seek to alleviate that pain, that struggle with substance abuse. So it's not necessarily that there's an addiction because there's an addiction as just an addiction. There's an underlying cause for that. And that's really, so substance abuse would tend to be the symptom of. When it comes to reaching out to someone, a very important thing is not leaving them alone, because left unsupervised, the person may take advantage of that. And most suicides tend to happen when the person is alone. So not leaving the person alone, and sometimes engaging them in different in activities that make them feel that they're part of the family, or making them feel that they are there, that they are important, that they have something to contribute. Asking directly, have you thought about this? Have you thought about suicide? Have you thought about ending your life? And it's something so delicate, but it's something that, and a lot of people tend to shy away from it because it's a lot of people are not sure if I ask you, are you thinking of suicide, and you tell me yes, what am I gonna do then?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people tend to shy away from that.
What if you tell me so? Yes. What will do? ¿Qué voy a hacer?
In that case, it's just allowing the person to express the reasons. In that sense, then they can express the reasons why are they feeling suicidal, what are the things that they want to end. And as you mentioned, it tends to be very subjective.
Mm-hmm.
So when looking at that, it's, for example, you might feel that such a problem is what's causing you these thoughts. And when I look at it, I can offer you a different perspective. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about maybe doing something different? And it's the individuals that do express their thoughts of that, their thoughts of suicide, their thoughts of low self-esteem, they don't really want to die. Because if I'm telling you this, it's because I want you to help me. I'm trying to reach out. I'm trying to save myself. If I had not wanted to say it,
that's a fact, because I've been, and I've heard personally, and I've been involved in recovery, in rehab programs and so forth, and I've heard people say, and I was gonna kill myself, and I go like, really? How often do you find people who actually committed talking about it?
In that question is very tricky, because as I mentioned, I haven't lost anyone to suicide. But when you try to understand certain cases, you realize that there wasn't anyone that they could talk to, or there wasn't anyone that reached out to them to say, I'm here for you. For the people that attempt suicide, or those that do not yet attempt suicide, they have their reasons, their protective factors, they have the reasons that they hold on to life. For example, thinking about their mom, thinking about
their buffers,
yes, their buffers, their siblings, thinking about maybe their career, their children. And usually when it comes to that, is that the things that make them hold on to life is usually another person. And it's very interesting to see how it's a person, or it's persons that make me hold on to life, make that person hold on to want to continue living. I don't want to hurt this person because I know they love me. And then once you're there, it's easy to hold on to that hope, hold on to that love, as opposed to actually attempting suicide. Am I explaining myself?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to that, it's a lot of people do want to express it if they're given the space. And I think this is something that we can see not only in suicide, it's something that you can see on a daily basis. You have a bad day at work, or you have a bad encounter at the store, you get home and you're just angry, and if you don't get to express that verbally, maybe you're irritable, you do things in ways that maybe you wouldn't do it. When you open the refrigerator and you slam it, and you're showing aggression in different ways because you're frustrated, you're angry. Now if someone were to tell you, what happened, Emmanuel? Why are you so vexed? Oh, well, I had this and I had that, and your fears are validated. Whatever happened is being understood. And afterwards, you're able to calm down and maybe look at it from a different perspective and not get to the point of being angry for so long. Verbal expression has a lot to do with preventing suicide, in my personal opinion, because the person gets to say it.
And that's the reason. That's the reason why, when you go into programs like NA or NAA, you're invited to talk, because they have found out that the minute you begin to talk about your problems is when you begin to cure yourself.
That's right.
El momento que abres tu boca y empiezas a hablar de tus problemas y empiezas a ventilar todo lo que te está matando por dentro, es cuando empiezas a curarte, a sanarte. And this is quite important, because you see, many times, it doesn't work only, if you notice, in the NA and the substance abuse corner, but also works in the suicide corner, because these people need to ventilate, need to talk, but not to anybody. Am I right?
It could depend. In a therapeutic sense, in a therapeutic clinical sense, if you are dealing maybe with a mental disorder, then it would be preferable that you seek a professional so that you can get through the illness. However, when it's moments that you haven't gotten to an illness, when it hasn't developed into that, as I mentioned, just feeling frustrated on a daily basis and just expressing it to someone who loves you, someone who
What if I were to take on an attitude right now, right now with you, let's create a scenario where say you are saying, tell you what, you are disposed to killing yourself, to committing suicide, and I am a family member. I go like, but I don't tell you long time something wrong with you, and you always there this and this and this and this, and I continue to berate you, and rather than giving you the support, I am frustrating you even more. I'm angering you even more. That's what I meant with having to choose who you're going to talk to, because many people, and especially drug addicts and alcoholics, don't want to talk to anybody who makes them feel guilty. They just don't want to. No contigo, porque tú me recuerdas las cosas, tú me haces sentir culpable, tú no eres un amigo, una amiga, tú me tiras las cosas en cara, me lo recuerdas. Yo no quiero que nadie me esté recordando esas cosas, porque ya lo pasé. Sometimes it's a very convenient stand, and it's a game that some people play. But sometimes it can be true that, hey, you're angering me, you're frustrating me, and even for substance abuse, any situation like that is just one more reason, one more justification to continue drinking or to continue using drugs, because they're looking for that reason. You understand? And there is what builds up on some people, because I've had that experience, until at the end of the day they go like, I can't take this no more. I can't. And then they do the unthinkable.
Yeah.
Do you find that substance abuse people figure prominently in the suicides? Do you see people with sexual problems figuring prominently in those people who commit suicide?
When it comes to sexuality, the LGBT community does show alarming rates of suicide, simply because I would say of social acceptance, in my opinion, as being one of the biggest reasons, in that going back to maybe the feeling unloved, feeling unwanted, feeling rejected, not being able to find employment because of sexual orientation, and many other psychological and social factors that play into this, where they do show higher numbers of suicide. Substance abuse, as I mentioned, it's one of the factors that plays into it. It's one of the warning signs. It's a unsafe behavior, and it's something that may or may not be one of the leading causes of suicide in someone that has a history of substance abuse. It can be subjective, and it can be something that really look at why is the person abusing of substances.
We'll take a break now, and when we come back, we'll be able to take your calls, 302-2170. Vamos a tomar una pausa, y después de esa pausa, con gusto atenderemos sus llamadas, sus preguntas. Con mucho gusto lo haremos luego de estos anuncios. Vamos a esta pausa.
up today. Now available in Corozal. Coming soon to San Ignacio.
You have an 8-cylinder powerful engine disguised as an aluminum alloy that spins at 8,000 revolutions per minute.
Goes like this. You think it's a turbo?
No, with a cleaning of injectors and a change of oil, you will run more efficient, my friend.
For those who understand the engine like it talks to you, we speak machine. Rush France, making the world function. Authorized agent, German Vega and Sons. Telephone number 322-3625. Email germanvega@btl.net.
The sunny days are here, and whether it's for a picnic or in your kitchen, you need the meat. Gillette's Meat Shop proudly offers a variety of juicy cuts such as processed meats, ham, bacon, salami, longaniza, and sugar cure ham, just to mention a few. Enjoy our meats in beef, pork, and mutton. So for that healthy cut your family enjoys, visit us at number 18 San Antonio Road in Orange Walk from Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 1:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. Saturdays, 7 a.m. to 12:30 and 3 to 5 p.m. Sundays, 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Place your orders at 322-3486 or 322-2175. Or even 610-4061. Send us an email at derekgillett31@gmail.com. Gillette's Meat Shop, fresh and processed meats.
Ay, qué rico.
A fast and reliable internet connection is crucial to the success of any business. That's why we at Pink Boutique chose DigiNet. Not only is it affordable, but it is service we can depend on to keep our business running 24/7. Plus, our DigiNet business plan allows us to stay ahead of the competition. For only $99, we get a dependable fiber connection at super fast speeds. Visit your nearest BTL office and ask about how DigiNet can enhance your business today.
Now available in Corozal. Coming soon to San Ignacio.
Notice the residents of rural communities in Orange Walk and Corozal districts. If you value your health and your children's health, you will dispose of your garbage only at approved sites. The disposal of garbage at any other location is illegal, and if caught, you can be fined up to $5,000. If you don't get caught, you can still suffer health impacts caused by these illegal sites, because illegal dump sites harbor pests such as rodents, possums, and mosquitoes that carry diseases. These can transmit those diseases to you and your children. In addition, the garbage you throw away illegally can contaminate water bodies near your community, the same water bodies you might use for recreation or other purposes. Only with your help can the Department of Environment ensure that Belize's development is safe for present and future generations. You can also contact your local village councils or Belize Solid Waste Management Authority for more information. The Department of Environment thanks you for your help.
There's no need to go across the border to enjoy sun, sand, and crystal blue waters. Belize's northern islands and reef are just a boat ride away. Go slow and immerse yourself into the Caribbean Sea or enjoy some fresh coconut water. Or pick up the pace on an island where locals can enjoy sandy beaches by day and feast on your fresh catch by night. Discover the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef and submerge yourself into another world where you can experience a traffic jam you will want to return. You can also make new friends along the way. Belize, where you can discover how to be a Belizean traveler.
Welcome back to the Sugar City Morning Show. Bienvenidos de vuelta al Sugar City Morning Show. I want to apologize for at this time to our cable viewers that I do, well, I guess this is going to make sense when you watch the show tonight, if tonight we're back on. But I gather that we're not on cable at the moment because of some technical problem. I want to apologize. I want to assure you that everything is being done to try to repair the situation. But we're having a very, very interesting talk with Miss Paola Osorio, who is an up-and-coming psychologist and who is quite involved with trying to create that consciousness that we need to pay more attention to people who are vulnerable to committing suicide. We have spoken about some of the symptoms. We have spoken about what to look for. And although she has said in the very first part of the show that sometimes it's very difficult to ascertain, without any doubt, the reason why that person committed suicide. We're still left with a lot of questions, nonetheless. In my case, when my uncle committed suicide, I couldn't understand why he did that. When without having to mention names, other people committed suicide, I was left wondering what went on. Were they happy? Was it that perhaps they owed a lot of money? Is it because they took it personal and, like you said, maybe it was a threat to their manliness, to their manhood? They felt challenged? Can it be that perhaps they suddenly felt that they were useless to their wives? Is it, and a number of reasons why you simply can't figure out any one reason. But the pain that family goes through is unthinkable, because they themselves are at a loss as why, but they're also left, in some cases, not all, in some cases, with lots of regret, with lots of feelings of guilt. I could have done more for my brother, for my husband, for my wife, for my son. But because I did not pay attention to him, and I thought that he was upstairs in his room, he's doing fine, but I never really got to find out what's going on in his mind. En este día, during this day and age when we are so wrapped up with ourselves and with our little devices, the problem seems more accentuated, that we are communicating less and less and less with the people we should be communicating. How much of a problem is that?
As I mentioned earlier, one of the biggest reasons why people hold on to life is the connections that they have with others, be it family members or be it whosoever, with others. And so when we cut off that, what am I left with?
Yourself, and that's
As humans, we are social creatures, and while I know we've had this discussion many times of enjoying our own company, it is extremely important, yes, but at the end of it, we are social creatures. We are born into a family. We are not born out. While we come out of the womb alone, we are still, we come into this world because of others, and we come into this world to others, and our entire lives, I mean, we grow up in families. We grow up in families, then we go on to school.
And as soon as I need something, as soon as I leave boy touch you when you're small, I want to fight with you, you run to your man, you run proper. Ese chamaco me quiso pegar.
There's that feeling of protection, that
right?
That feeling of love, that feeling of I know I can go to someone who cares for me and loves me, and it's something that we're not always conscious of. We're not aware of it a lot of times, but the feeling is there. And so when you cut off that, the loneliness comes in, the frustration comes in, the hopelessness, the feeling unworthy, and all these negative thoughts and these negative emotions come into play. Not to mention other social factors as well. As I mentioned, loss of a divorce, loss of a job, moving, debts, losing someone, knowing someone who has died by suicide, chronic illness, amongst other factors that influence this. So, and I mentioned also, when it comes to finance, I kind of want to touch on that in the case of men, specifically because it has been shown that culturally, and this is something I think a lot of us can attest to, culturally, the man is seen as a provider, and that's the label that he grows up with. So when it comes to great finances and maybe the loss of family, separation and what's not, it's a direct attack on their identity. Not so much now on their masculinity, but on their identity of who they're supposed to be. And if I can't be this, then what am I? And so that's a bit of the psychological part there that I kind of explained. But it's something, it's one of those factors that play into, I won't say it's the only factor, but it's definitely one of those that comes very strong when it comes to suicide trends in men. It is something that warning signs are so essential to human life, because I've heard someone who lost someone to suicide, and that person mentioned, looking back and knowing now what I know, my loved one did show this, that, and the other. But I could not recognize it as being signs of suicide. And that's what happens. A lot of people don't even if they're able to notice this person is behaving differently, or they're thinking differently, or speaking differently, this person, they don't realize this is attached to suicide. Am I explaining myself? It's something that...
They know something is wrong, they just don't know where it's leading to.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I wanted to say. And so with having conversations like this, with having open discussion about it, with having more information, reading up more, because a lot of information is there, but when you want to actually know about it more, you'd be surprised to see when we talk about cases that this person did this, and you go realizing, but this person was showing this person was doing this person changed doing this, that they know from, for example, in women, from wearing makeup to not wearing makeup, or from wearing jewelry to not wearing jewelry, or for men, not personal hygiene is another thing to look out for, because individuals who would normally take care of themselves, to say it like that, have that sudden uninterest in their own personal hygiene, in the way that they take care of themselves. It's because they don't really care about themselves anymore. It's why do I still have to put on perfume? Why do I still need to bathe? If I'm going to die anyway? And so that's something, and that's another thing to look out for, which can also be a symptom of depression. But as I mentioned, depression as a mental illness can be discussed as a separate topic in itself. And so with talks like this, it's raising awareness. It's being able to give people the proper information that they need, so that they can recognize it in others. And from there, we can talk about more what to do afterwards, once we know that this person is thinking about suicide. One of the things is that if an individual has expressed suicidal thoughts, but maybe not wanting, but has expressed not really wanting to die, or not knowing how to carry out their method, in that sense, it's really being with them a lot, not leaving them alone, and having them express that, giving them the space to really express what's going on and vent out.
Paula, our chat, we would be remiss if we, during this chat, don't talk about that young child, 7 years old, who purportedly committed, say purportedly because I'm I'm sorry, I might kind of hard head, but I cannot yet see through the fact that a 7-year-old is going to commit suicide. Is that something that we typically see? 7-year-olds committing suicide?
No, actually, that's a very young, tender age. I cannot necessarily give as much explanation or insight when it comes to that because I do not have all the details, but from what I've read and I've understood is that usually that age range, suicides do occur in that age range, but it's not as common as someone who's older. Also, I'd like to reiterate that depression in children is not the same as depression in adults.
Mm-hmm.
What with that tragic loss of that little boy, in my personal opinion, and I do have to say this is my personal opinion when it comes to this, is that I do believe that this little boy had been exposed to some suicide for him to have known how to carry out that method. But in that case, a little boy expressing that he wants to die.
Telling you, I am tired of it, and I want to finish it, so he goes to a room where he is alleged to have hung himself.
Yeah.
I still have a problem with that, because a 7-year-old having the capacity to tie a rope, to find, to think, to be ingenious, and to say, okay, I'm going to tie it such a way so that it holds me, and I'm going to make this loop just so, I'm going to get this chair and I'm going to kick it. All of that requires some sort of exposure, like you said, where somebody had actually showed it to him. But by himself, to be thinking and creating and I mean tying the knots and being the person who masterminds the whole suicide is way too much for me to think that that child did it. I'm still at a loss as to what happened there, but I refuse to believe that a 7-year-old, unless he's some sort of whiz kid, would want to kill him, would devise all the means and kill himself because somebody told him, or because he said that he's tired of having ugly people around him. And then supposedly somebody said, oh, but you ugly too. And that would be enough reason for this kid to kill himself. Oh, please.
It's, as I mentioned, I cannot
give
full insight on this. But it is, I personally do believe that this child had to have some sort of exposure to suicide. And again, it goes back to it being preventable. How does a 7-year-old express this intent to stop living? It's something that they're very isolated cases when it comes to suicide in children. But in this case, was this child feeling unloved? Was this child going through bullying at school? Was this child performing well in school? What were the relationships with his parents, with his siblings, with his other caretakers? Was there maybe sexual abuse going on?
All of those questions.
All of those questions going on that could have contributed to this child hanging himself. And it is a case of tragic loss because it was a 7-year-old.
I know that kids are being born more and more precocious these days. I mean, good Lord. What we would think about when we were 7 is a far cry from what kids nowadays are thinking when they're 7.
Yes.
Okay? When we are 10, Man, I still be believing in Santa Claus when I'm 10 years old. Straight, and I'm not saying for tell you. But changing times. Kids now are so much more precocious. Born that way even, you would say. It's just natural, smart. But even so, does it make them more vulnerable emotionally? Because they're smarter? Does it make them equally vulnerable because they're smarter? Or more receptive, or more because they may be more sensitive to certain situations? I would think in my own little cabecita here that a 7-year-old, all he thinks about is having fun. I may be wrong, but that's at least what I remember I used to like doing when I was 7 years old. Going out and playing with my friends or with my brothers. But definitely not finding ways to kill myself. I did not have that environment. And I think that even if I did, it wouldn't dawn on me to try to say I'm going to commit suicide. So I believe that kid was heavily influenced by somebody or something that would actually make him do that. Either he was exposed to somebody showing him how to commit suicide, and he did it foolishly. But I don't think that by his own devices that he would be the one to create the whole thing and say, this is it. 7-year-old. Mm-hmm. Oh, I find it very hard to believe.
It is something very questionable, and I agree with you on that. Because if you would notice 7-year-olds, a lot of them still have difficulty tying their shoelaces. Mm-hmm. And I mean, while they would have the dexterity to be able to tie their shoelaces, to tie a knot on a noose so that it is very, very questionable, and it's one of those isolated cases that
you just don't know what to say.
You just don't know what to say exactly. And I think it's one of those cases that has baffled so many people. I have my personal opinion on it. Professionally, maybe I have another opinion, but it's a very, very tragic loss. A 7-year-old dying by suicide, by reported suicide, it is.
Paul, we have been through the symptoms, we have been through the problem per se. You here on this show, you here with a purpose, obviously, trying to tell people, to create an awareness, to create a conscience that, there are people right now who are considering suicide. We need to be watchful. If we love that person. A lot of people would say, he won't kill himself, make him kill himself. But is that the right attitude to take? And one of the big questions, one of the big things that we live with, or we have lived with over the years is, that was sinful, kill yourself. Is it still a criminal act right now to commit suicide?
No. And I'm gonna pinpoint something specific here. Let me point out a difference in language, and it's just to kind of sensitize the public right now. The way that we would most commonly refer to suicide is this person committed suicide, which is a very outdated term. And the reason why it's outdated, specifically in Belize, is because in the year 2000, it was, I would say decriminalized is the word. It's no longer considered a criminal act, a criminal offense to die by suicide or to commit suicide. So it's no longer referred to as committing.
Well, who are going to take the corpse?
Right. So you would say the person died by suicide in the case that we should answer. Yeah.
Sugar City Morning Show, good morning.
Buenos días, don Manuel.
Buenos días.
¿En qué estado sucedió el caso del niño?
¿En qué distrito? En Stan Creek.
Oh, ya. Gracias.
Por nada.
Yes, it is no longer a criminal offense to die by suicide, and so that's why the term committed suicide is outdated. It would the proper and the safer way to talk about it is died by suicide. For example, if someone has a heart attack and they pass away, we don't say the person committed a heart attack and died. The person died by a heart attack. And also, we use the word committed when it comes to criminal language. This person committed a crime. This person committed assault. This person committed dangerous harm.
So how should we say it now?
The person died by suicide. That was the way that they died. It was because once you say the word committed, inherently it kind of unconsciously, it's placing a judgment also on it, in that you committed suicide. In that kind of placing a wall between the person who died by suicide and ourselves, that it's so unthinkable, that it's wrong, that it's...
Or something like you committed perjury, or you committed adultery, you committed this. Like something is attached to the action that you did.
One thing that I do have to mention, though, when it comes to our legal system, is that abetment to suicide is a criminal offense. What I mean by that...
Explain that to me. Abetment to suicide.
What I mean by that is, for example, if I know that you are having suicidal thoughts and you have the intent to attempt suicide, and you're expressing, Paula, well, yes, I want to kill myself, or this, that, me quiero morir.
If you tell me, Paula, I think I will hang myself this afternoon because I can't take this no more. Just creating a scenario.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, see the rope there? To hang yourself? Is that abetment to crime? To
yes,
suicide?
Yes, because then I'm enabling you.
Is that punishable by law?
It is also.
Wow.
You, as a person who attempts suicide, you are not in any infraction with the law. However, the person who was there, I mean, it is, because it's I would describe it as being manslaughter in a way, because I know this is what could happen, and I'm enabling that. I'm an accomplice to this. It is the loss of someone's life. So abetment to suicide is a criminal offense.
So, in other words, but it has as its basis the fact that the life that you take away is not yours.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because if it were fully yours and under my control of 100%, then I can do whatever I want with this. But because the life has to be understood in a plane, in a platform where the life you take is not really your own. It has some higher power has given that to you, and it's not for you to take away. Mm-hmm. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is something to know. In the year 2000, it was decriminalized. Suicide was decriminalized in 2000. This was an effort by the Mental Health Association and I believe other stakeholders, but I do know that they were a very strong influence in decriminalizing that. And that was really one of our biggest accomplishments in suicide prevention, that it's no longer a criminal act. In some countries it still is. I'm not sure if in Central America, but I think in some parts of the Caribbean it's still considered a criminal offense. So in that sense, Belize has a big accomplishment there. So if you don't mind, I would like to talk more about the resources that Belize has to offer. Okay, sure. when it comes to...
excuse me, just what time is it now?
8:46.
8:46. Okay, let's take a quick break. When it's 14 minutes before 9, as soon as we come back, we'll talk about the resources that Belize has.
Perfect.
Let's do that. Vamos a una pausa rápidamente.
Everybody wants a clean and healthy family. That's why they purchase the best food products and the cleansing materials. This time, we give you a bigger size of La Costeña products like the mouth-watering fried beans and the pasta sauce. And surely for your clean laundry, we have the breathtaking aroma of Ensueño Max Suavitel. Even your visitors will ask what you clean your floors and restrooms with. And you can boast it is the variety of Pinol products and Sultan muriatic acid now in 900 milliliters. And much more for the best prices only at German Vega and Sons Imports. We serve you at number 5 San Antonio Road, Orange Walktown. You can even call us at 322-3625 or 322-2672. Or you can even send us a fax at 322-2571 or email us at germanvega@btl.net. German Vega and Sons Limited, because we care for you.
Attention all parents and students. A&R Stores countrywide announced the arrival of their back-to-school inventory. If you need school bags and knapsacks, say no more. A&R Stores have the largest assortment of knapsacks in the country with brands like Jansport, Capsule and Everest, famous for their resistance and durability. If you need school supplies, A&R Stores have everything, yes, everything you will need, such as exercise books, composition books, lunch bags, folders, and a whole range of school supplies and arts and craft material. A&R Stores, your #1 store for back-to-school supplies. Visit them at any of their 8 locations. A&R Store, where our prices make the difference.
Kenneth Richards, and I'm representing Cellular Plus, where we provide sales for cell phones and cell phone servicing and also TV repairs. We use the net a lot to download softwares and different programs for the servicing of our devices. We need something more reliable and stable. Previous internet that we've been using had a lot of droppage. Sometimes it was non-existent for a couple hours. We are a service-minded company and we need to get our products out and servicing out as quick as possible. Now with the DigiNet service, surfing the web looking for stuff for customers has improved our time and everything. Software downloads or software uploads, communicating with our customers and transferring large files, and improve our service on a wide spectrum of servicing that we provide. Anyone that's internet-based and service-driven, I would recommend DigiNet to everyone in Belize.
Now available in Corozal. Coming soon to San Ignacio.
Motor 5.0, 4 válvulas por cilindro. Todos quisiéramos una. Como que no agarra, ¿no? Siento como que se le pega el balancín. Vamos a darte el aceite que te mereces. Vas a correr como rayo, preciosa.
Los que oímos más allá de las revoluciones, hablamos máquina. Roche-France, poniendo el mundo a funcionar.
Agente autorizado German Vega y Sons. Teléfono 322-3625. Roche-France.
The San Ignacio-Santa Elena Bypass Project is now complete. The transformation began in 2012, and now residents of the Twin Towns and visitors alike are enjoying the end result. Works include the full pavement of Lamalos Boulevard, along with 2 miles of sidewalks and drainage, LED lighting, and a roundabout at the entrance of Santa Elena. The Twin Towns now boast the longest and widest bridge in Belize, immune to flooding from the occasional rise in water levels of the McCall River. A bypass road was also built linking the new bridge to Joseph Andrews Drive, which was rehabilitated, as well as 1 mile of pavement, a median, and 2 miles of sidewalks and drainage. This was all done to the tune of $34.8 million. But that's not all. The project was extended due to savings from the successful execution and implementation of the initial scope of works. Now over 2 miles of additional roadworks will commence, including George Price Avenue, Liberty Avenue, and the George Price Highway between Three Flags and Hawksworth Bridge. The government of Belize, moving Belize forward.
Welcome back to the Sugar City Morning Show. Bienvenidos de vuelta al Sugar City Morning Show. Aquí con la buena amiga Paola Osorio, que con mucho gusto le ha aceptado venir a hablar y para tratar de crear una conciencia en la audiencia, con todos nosotros, de que hay muchas personas considerando suicidio ahorita, ahora, a este momento, y que nosotros pudiéramos ayudar a estas personas, pero tendríamos que estar muy atentos a los síntomas, ¿qué dirías? A los síntomas que ellos demuestran, el tipo de acción que hacen, muchas veces llamando atención o de una forma u otra que nosotros podríamos decir, no lo sé con 100%, pero esta persona está cambiando de actitud, está considerando algo que no me gusta pensar, y considerando ya la historia del individuo, debes de poder actuar y llamar a los papás o a quien sea y decir, mira, cuida a tu hijo, cuida a tu nieto, cuida a tu sobrina, cuida tal y tal, para que se evite este tipo de situación. Perder a un hijo o una hija no es nada grato, créeme. Especialmente en circunstancias como un suicidio. Es difícil. Dificilísimo. Porque aparte de que te queda enterrar a esa persona, te queda esa trauma, de que tu esposo, se suicidó. Tú no fuiste suficiente mujer, tú no fuiste suficiente hombre, tú no fuiste suficiente proveedor, tú no fuiste esto, tú no fuiste el otro. Y muchas veces eso también nos puede hacer daño. Estar más al tanto de nuestros seres queridos es muy importante. Y por eso le doy las gracias a Paola, porque estuvo aquí hablando de todos estos síntomas que nosotros, las personas, demostramos. Pero también hay otros recursos aquí en Belice. ¿Nos puedes contar acerca de esto?
En Belice tenemos en todos los distritos, hay un outpatient system que se encuentra en casi todos los hospitales donde hay una enfermera psiquiátrica o una enfermera. En Orange Rock, por ejemplo, tenemos un psiquiatra donde se trabaja con las personas como cualquier otro día del hospital, de tal hora a tal hora en el día. Y eso es...
Así que personas que quisieran consultar pueden ir al hospital y pedir para este doctor y él los puede ver.
Sí, y es un espacio sano, es un espacio basado en el paciente y es algo donde los servicios, por ejemplo, en Belice los servicios son gratis. Ya si alguien quisiera buscar la ayuda de alguien profesional privado, ese está en sus opciones. Sin embargo, los servicios de salud mental acá en Belice son gratis. También, hablando con eso, también tenemos medicamentos que, no solo en suicidio, sino que en salud mental también son gratis y están disponibles.
Y es algo que no sucede en todos los países del mundo, ¿verdad?
No. En Honduras, por ejemplo, solo cuentan con 30-40% disponibilidad de medicamentos. Entonces, para nosotros tener el 80 al 100% disponible y gratis es
una ventaja fuerte.
Es una ventaja fuerte. También, digamos, si en el caso que un suicidio o un intento de suicidio ocurre, digamos, en la madrugada y llega al hospital. El hospital tiene pues en todo Belice hay un alert system en donde se le notifica a la persona que trabaja en salud mental en esa área, en ese distrito, de lo que se trata. Y ya en eso se sigue su propio protocolo y ya eso se hace, ¿no? Otro recurso que tenemos es cuando mencionamos niños, lo que es Ministry of Human Development, porque como bien hemos mencionado en el caso del niño de 7 años, no sabemos qué estaba pasando en su entorno, no sabemos si había abuso sexual o si había cualquier tipo de abuso. So, en esa instancia, en ese caso, ya se buscaría la ayuda de un trabajador social, donde ya se refiere, digamos, a los servicios de salud mental.
Más así, sí.
Yeah. Otro recurso que tenemos es que recién este año hubo 3 jornadas de capacitación a personas de la comunidad en lo que es prevención del suicidio. 5 miembros de Hopeful Hearts fuimos entrenados, yo siendo una de ellas. Eso fue algo muy hands-on, muy práctico. ¿Qué nosotros podemos hacer cuando no hay ayuda, ¿no? Cuando solo estamos nosotros con alguien, y qué poder hacer, ¿no?
¿Cómo puede alguien contactarse con Hopeful Hearts tratando de conseguir esta ayuda y un poco de esa experiencia que ustedes tienen para tratar de convencer a una persona que no debe cometer suicidio?
Pues nos pueden contactar en el phone number 631-1014. Ese es mi personal phone number.
631-1014. Anótalo. 631-1014. Pero que conste que ese es número personal de ella. Y ella te puede ayudar a guiar. ¿Ya viste que suave y dulce es Paula? Con esa misma forma te va a atender. Y créeme que va a ser una excelente psicóloga. Excelente psicóloga.
Muchas gracias. Es mi número personal, pero está abierto al público por la misma razón de queremos que busquen ayuda, que no se queden callados con esto. Entonces, porque como somos personas con experiencia vivida de lo que es salud mental, de lo que es enfermedad mental, de lo que es suicidio, estamos en un punto de compartir el yo lo sobreviví, tú también puedes. Y pasar esa fortaleza, pasar esa, no diría positivismo, pero pasar el querer vivir, el querer aguantarse la vida. Hopeful Hearts definitivamente es un recurso aquí en Belice. Como mencioné, el Alert System, Social Workers, el Outpatient System que tenemos. Y a veces el recurso más importante es el amor y el apoyo familiar. El hablar con alguien con quien confías, alguien que te quiere y al cual le importas. Para nosotros en Belice, nosotros tenemos muchas ventajas. Por cierto, el Ministerio de Salud, la Unidad de Salud Mental, va a estar inaugurando su plan de prevención del suicidio. No estoy segura en las fechas, pero es algo que se va a volver parte del sistema de salud de Belice. Entonces, eso es otro logro que tenemos para ver. Y les pido que hablen de ello, que no se queden callados.
Hablar de ello, el simplemente llamar a una puerta y decir, puedo hablar contigo, me caes bien, pero necesito hablar. No le cierres las puertas a esa persona. Bueno, si es una extraña, pues te vas a pensar 2 veces, pero si conoces a la persona y te preocupas suficiente por esa persona, invítalo o invítala a sentarse contigo. Y no tienes que hacer nada más que escuchar. Porque lo que él o ella va a estar haciendo es hablar. Eso es lo que le está comiendo su interior. Y todo lo que tienes que hacer es escuchar y no juzgar.
Sí, es sumamente importante el no juzgar, porque juzgar es lo último que alguien con pensamientos suicidas quiere. El que me digas que estoy loca, el que me digas que que lo que estoy diciendo no vale la pena.
Y o decirte peor aún de que lo que estás pasando es castigo de Dios. Porque muchas veces lo utilizamos. Tú estás pasando por castigo de Dios y vas a pasar por mucho más. Y ya lo he visto, ya lo he oído. ¿Y qué haces con esa persona? Lo hundes. Lo hundes y lo hundes y lo hundes más. Entonces, cuando piensas que estás ayudándolo, no lo estás ayudando. Tú en tu pensamiento dirías, pues le estoy diciendo la verdad para que recapacite. Nada, lo estás hundiendo. Pero tienes que entender eso, de que tus acciones no la están ayudando. Así que simplemente es escuchar y no juzgar. Ya luego entonces, cuando ya se sienta la persona más equipada para poder, o tú, entonces refiéralo a una persona ya cualificada, que pueda entonces guiar los pasos a esta persona, cómo mejor tratar esta situación. Pero tú, si alguien te golpea y te dice quisiera hablar contigo, o que te muere, o que no te lo viene a tu casa y tan de repente empieza a llorar y le preguntas qué es lo que quiere y te empieza a contar, no le cierres la boca, no lo calles, que hable, que hable, que hable, porque se está desahogando. Así que mejor escuchas eso a tener que escuchar más luego que la persona se fue a la tienda, compró una soga y que se mató. Eso es un bofetazo. Muchas veces uno no puede lidiar con ello, porque realmente la situación es que te vas a llenar de culpabilidad y decir, yo pude haberlo ayudado, pero no lo hice. Así que simplemente es tratar de estar al pendiente de estas situaciones y ayudar por mismo amor que Dios nos pide tener uno al otro, de darle un poquito de tiempo y escuchar a las personas alrededor de nosotros. ¿Lo dije bien?
Sí, lo digo muy bien. Es darles ese espacio para expresar lo que están sintiendo y acompañarlos en lo que es tal vez ir a buscar ayuda profesional. Es una de las cosas más importantes que se puede hacer, contactar a los familiares. En los casos de los niños sí es muy importante contactar a los familiares, a los papás específicamente. Cuando ya son adultos, contactar tal vez a sus hermanos o hermanas. Si ya son adultos un poco mayores, contactar a sus hijos, que me imagino muchos adultos mayores tienen hijos adultos igual, o contactar personas a sus alrededores que los pueden acompañar, que no los van a dejar solos, que van a estar con ellos en ese momento, ¿no?
Hola, yo te quiero dar las gracias. Muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Al equipo de producción, muchas gracias. Son las 9:05 ya es hora que nos vayamos. Y ya es martes, y mañana ya es miércoles. Y nada más recordándoles de que el viernes es el día para el rally de los estudiantes, ¿ok? No digo Children's Rally porque también hay estudiantes de la secundaria. And those are not children. So it's the school rally. It's going to be on Friday. Así que prepárate para eso. Si es que tienes que ir al centro, hazlo desde el jueves. Porque el viernes va a ser un buchinche, como dirías. ¿Ok? También estar muy al pendiente de la tormenta tropical Isaac. Muy al pendiente. Ahora está perdiendo fuerza tantito, pero nada dice que no puede ganar la fuerza de vuelta al entrar al Caribe. y que finalmente nos presente una amenaza, quizás lunes o martes, domingo, lunes o martes de esta semana y de la otra semana, perdón. Así que muchas gracias por su audiencia, muchas gracias por la confianza. Este show repite a las 9 hoy por la noche. Si es que quieres invitar a alguien que lo vea el show hoy por la noche, por favor, a las 9 de la noche. Pero de todas formas, estaremos de vuelta con ustedes mañana con mucho más a las 7 de la mañana. Compañeros, tengan un buen día y cuídense mucho. Hasta luego, nos vemos.
City Morning Show.